Well, hey Barbie, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Big congrats on Bob Trevino Likes It. Um, Man, this movie had me crying at so many moments. What was your experience like watching it for the first time?
Oh gosh, I remember watching it. So I saw a couple of iterations of it before it was really done. So I remember seeing it with my two friends, Ben and Chloe, and then some of the producers and Tracy. And we first watched it, and I remember being so nervous and like having to pee like four times during the movie because that's how nervous I was. So so after that, the first watch, I was like, I was like, okay, cool. This is really beautiful. And my friends were crying, everything. And so that was like the first time I saw it. But then the first time I saw it with an audience was at South by, and I was with my grandma and my mom, and here comes morning. And I was with my grandma and my mom and everyone. And it was so cool to see it with like an audience and hearing the sniffles and the laughs and the gasps and everything. And I was so happy that I was so happy for Tracy too, because it's like we nailed it. Like, you can make your own movie and the crew and the cast can think it's special, but really it's about like what the audience takes away from it and all the care that we put into it. So it was really wonderful to get such a not only you get such a positive kind of reaction to it, but also we won the award, the jury and the audience award. So clearly it was a win.
Yeah, it was well received at Glasgow Film Festival this year, where it got its UK premiere. You give such a real and raw performance, especially in that scene in the diner. It's utterly devastating. There's that line where Bob says, do you realize how much, you've cost me? I know that you spoke about before that you tapped into some of your, own personal life for the movie. Did working on this film change you as a person or change how you approach your work?
100%. I mean, I knew that this was going to be a big undertaking for me because I have issues with, I don't have a father figure, and that's kind of the reason why I really wanted to do it. I thought this would be an incredibly personal exercise in acting too, and completely letting myself be destroyed and then picked up, and then all my pieces picked up again and then destroyed again as an actor. And so for me, that was really what was really attractive about this film. Not only was the script so wonderful and it made me burst out into tears and laugh as I was reading it, which is very rare. I just it felt like it was something I wanted to put out into the world because I'd never seen quite this kind of representation of having this broken family and being broken yourself. I've never really seen anything like that in this way. And so to me, it was just, it was a completely cathartic, like therapeutic performance for me. I mean, I try to be as present as possible. Yeah, it was a lesson in kind of all these walls that I've put up for so many years. I'm 28, I haven't had a father figure since I was 7. It was about dismantling these walls and letting my inner child grieve that. And I think, even though you can think that you've done enough therapy to like get over it, or you've processed it enough, you're an adult now. It was really, I think of acting as an emotional athleticism, and it felt like I was um really going back to like the core of who Barbara Ferreira, not even Barbie Ferreira, but Barbara Ferreira is, and really making sure that I was completely void of any vanity, of any I didn't want it to seem like I was, you know, even being perceived in there. I wanted to be just be real. I wanted her to be played as a raw nerve and as someone who's strange and weird and unsettling, but also like incredibly lovable and someone that you like root for, but you can't quite understand why Lily thinks that way. But you can kind of get little bits and pieces as you go. So yeah, it was incredibly personal to me.
You and your co-star, John Leguizamo, have got such a great bond and chemistry. Was this the first time you guys had met? It feels like you just connected instantly.
I love John. Yeah, no, we met when he was in Kentucky. So this is a very low budget indie. So we had limited time to do lots of things. Everything was limited, right? And we pulled it off, which is incredible. An incredible feat, thanks to Tracy and all the producers and everyone who like helped us out. But John and I met probably like a week before I started shooting, and we went to like dinner, and I was like I was kind of like basking in it. I grew up, I mean, I'm a Latina from Queens. He's from Queens. He's like a New York icon, Latino icon. I grew up watching all his movies, Tu Wong Fu and like all the Baz Luhrmann, like so to me it was like I remember watching Moulin Rouge as a 7-year-old, like doing theater and like being like, oh my God, like this is so cool, and like Romeo and Juliet. So for me, it was like it felt like I was very nervous but I like to like, pretend to be confident just to make it not everyone's like business that I'm nervous and make everyone scared for me. So it was super cool, and I was definitely intimidated, but he is like the sweetest man ever. We have like this connection just because, where we grew up and our backgrounds. It just felt like, and he's such a good dad. Like he actually is such a good dad that like he was such a father figure to me in this entire film. And I'm very awkward with like, because I've never had a father figure. So that really read with Lily and how awkward it just was, all like kind of perfect, where it's like, this woman who doesn't really have these connections with like men in that way, and the paternal connections, just like me as a person, accepting this kind of um strange like fatherly love from a stranger. It felt like it was, it was perfectly awkward and weird, and it just is exactly what you see on the screen.
It's funny you mentioned John being this New York Queens, kind of legend. There's this scene where he, fixes the toilet, and I just instantly thought that's Luigi, that's Super Mario Brothers. I thought that was just so funny.
Literally. John has had like the most amazing career of all time. I did learn that he was Sid in Ice Age while I was doing this movie, because I just had no idea. I was like, "Oh my God. My entire childhood has been John Leguizamo. Like he every step of the way has been him."
Tracy's screenplay is great, but she gives John like some of the best dad jokes that I've heard. He delivers them so well. You're thinking this could be maybe a new category at the Oscars.
Yeah, best dad joke, absolutely. Which is funny because Tracy talked about this a lot. She was like, no one in this movie is purposely funny or charming. No one is like, so every joke that we make is funny because the joke is like a dad joke, right? So it was such a funny way, like note that actually was incredible, because it really did make these characters like the most awkward, cutest, like weirdo pairing ever, because we were told never to be naturally charming and never to be naturally funny. These are two people who are just, they're just trying to figure it out. Like whole, it's so sweet. Yeah, Tracy really created this world that is so specific to her, and really has this like tone that I really enjoy in it. That's so odd and weird and cool.
It's obviously it was quite emotionally taxing. How much did you relish that scene that you had with the puppy? Was that much needed? After some tough scenes.
Yeah, so that scene, I wasn't even supposed to really have an emotional reaction to it. But every time I would read that scene, table reads, rehearsal, I would get choked up. And that doesn't really happen ever to me. And so I'm so thankful that Tracy, is such a wonderful actor's director, that I was like, I have an idea. I didn't even have to really like, say that. I was like, give me she always knows, like she lets me do my thing. And then, she comes in and then we like build off of each other. But my first take of that, I just sobbed, like I couldn't stop sobbing. And because I feel like that sentiment of everything you touch goes wrong. You're a dangerous person inherently. You're a bad person inherently. It's something that I've always felt, and I think a lot of people feel. And to me, that was like the most beautiful thing someone can do, is show someone that they can be like everyone else and they deserve love like everyone else, and they can take care of things. They can do, your parents are so, oh, they're like, they can, whether they're good or bad parents, what they say as kids, it really like resonates with you, and it plants these seeds that are really hard to like dig out. And that to me, I feel like was something that was I think the most connection I had with Lily, was that I always felt like I was inherently a bad person for no reason. But like other people can do this, but I can't. Like obviously I can't do that. So for me, that puppy scene was really like kind of emblematic of the relationship with Bob being like showing Lily that she's allowed to have human joyful experiences just like everyone else. And to me, that was just like the most touching scene in the whole movie. And yeah, it was particular to me. I think that to me, I felt like that scene was really important. And then Tracy really loved what I did with it, and so we kind of calibrated the rest of the emotions in the movie to kind of fit that and really show that that's like the brokenness of Lily.
The movie, shows that social media sometimes can be a positive thing. I seen recently that Tracy shared this person had created a Bob Trevino Likes It Lego set. It had
Oh
like
yeah,
it had like a little Barbie, had Daphne. Did you see that? Are you a big Lego fan?
I did. I think someone made it, an AI of it, and then they actually made it into like a little Lego. It was so cute. Well, in the actual movie, we have a little Daphne Barbie in the scene. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like this cute little Barbie in like a wheelchair, and she's like on the side. And I think you can kind of see it in some of the scenes when you're in Daphne and Lily's apartment. But I think it's so sweet to have like little toys that are just like, it's so sweet. I love the toys.
This is a campaign now for an official Bob Trevino Likes It Lego set.
We need it. I mean, that's the only logical next step for Bob Trevino.
Just one final question, Barbie. What are you working on at the moment? What can you share with us?
I just got off doing this incredible Broadway play, Cult of Love. I got back a couple months ago, and now I've been promoting Bob Trevino. I have a couple projects that are coming out very soon. I'm very excited. They're all very different, you know. I did a rom-com, I did a horror movie. This one is like this heartfelt dramedy. So yeah, I'm just really excited to kind of put out what I've been working on the past couple of years because it's been so fun.
I read that you were attached to this project, The Young King, with Michael Shannon. Is that still in the works?
I don't think so. I wish. I hope. I feel like, I think people are kind of scared to put money behind a drag king movie, which I think is pretty silly. I mean, that script is incredible. So if anyone's listening to this, maybe you want to give us some money to go to Vegas and do a drag king movie. But yeah, no, the script is incredible. I think, Hollywood, baby.
Never say never. Well, Barbie, thank you so much for your time and yeah, best of luck with the movie.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Cheers.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!